Hello, hello everybody. Welcome to our ongoing e-seminar. My name is Brian Garcia with Restoration Management Company. Today we are going to continue our conversation about re-entry in the world of COVID-19. This is part two of our of this particular agenda on how we're re-entering the relationships between vendors and property managers and how we're moving forward. So this is about a 30-minute presentation. And we have our normal cast here today to go over some questions. And I'll go ahead and we'll start with Daniel Lima. Please tell us a little bit something about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Lima. I'm the owner of Endure Painting. And just a little bit about me. I basically started as a painter myself, and then kind of worked up the ladder to now working in this amazing company. And we do HOA and multifamily units. We specialize in those trade for painting. And then we also have a division for high-end residential painting. And so that's basically a little bit about us.
What's the craziest thing that you've done while you've been in lockdown?
I don't know. I don't know that something crazy. We just actually I can't think of anything that. Well, okay, I can say something. We started a live stream from like my wife and I. We started a live stream where we sing, and she plays piano, I play piano, and we sing, and so we, during this time we just didn't know what to do, so we started kind of doing this live stream. So yeah, I think that's a bit crazy.
Hopefully we're keeping it PG, but that's awesome. That's great.
Look us up.
Thank you. Daisy, why don't you tell us a little bit something about yourself?
So I'm Daisy. I'm with IQB Construction and Roofing. I'm their marketing manager. And a little fun fact about me is I'm a photographer as well. So I do photos on the side, weddings, newborns, stuff like that. And we are a general construction company. We do interior renovations, exterior decay repairs, roofing, basically the whole, everything, all in one. And the craziest thing that I've done is started my pergola in my backyard, and I haven't finished it. I guess I can think of. I haven't done anything crazy during the quarantine, but yeah.
Well, of course, we're always happy to have you here. Thank you so much. Annetta, something about you.
Hi, I'm Juanita. I'm with Van Kale Property Management. I'm a community association manager. We manage both HOAs and rentals in the city. A little bit about myself, I'm a San Francisco native. And craziest thing I did, well, like a few weeks ago, I went to a farmer's market and bought a tamale, and I dumped 2 different hot sauces on it, and then I ate it, and I got really bad heartburn afterwards. So that's the craziest thing I've done so far.
Well, always good to have you here also. Mark, a little bit something about yourself.
Hi everybody. My name is Mark Owens. I'm the president of Reliant Construction Management. We are a full construction management firm that does work throughout the entire Bay Area. We work with multifamily developments, HOAs, apartment buildings, and also single family homes as well. Owners, property managers, boards, and management firms. And we work on exterior projects, capital improvements, construction defect, assist with scope development and implementation, as well as working with defect litigation and also loss, like water losses and catastrophic losses. And I've been doing this now since 2006. And let's see, craziest thing, it's hard because I've done a few things that are kind of different than what I would have done if it wasn't SIP. So one was shave my head, and now I like it, so I'm gonna continue to shave it. And, and then the second thing is that this is, I don't know if it's crazy, but I'm kind of liking it. I'm expanding my home gym, and it's kind of fun to get some of these things, and I'm kind of splurging here and there, and I'm converting part of my deck and part of my garage. So it's kind of fun to do that. So
Very nice. And of course, once again, my name is Brian Garcia. I'm with Restoration Management Company. We are a full-service restoration company, disaster recovery. So we work with you if your property has fires, floods, anything like that, biohazard cleanup, asbestos or lead abatement, and 14 branches throughout the country, primarily in Northern California, Southern California, but offices in Seattle, Phoenix, and Fort Worth. So with that, what's the craziest thing I've done? I gave myself a haircut in the mirror. So that was
Good.
I think it turned out okay, but yeah, that was a challenge. So that's the things that we think are crazy right now are a little crazy. So today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to continue our conversation regarding reentry into normal as we can get moving forward. And the first question we would like to talk about is with all these new CDC protocols in place in the workplace, how are each of your companies adhering to the CDC protocols? Annetta, why don't you start off?
Sure. Well, some of my HOAs, we're requiring vendors to wear masks and face coverings and gloves before entering the building, and we're also limiting the number of vendors in the building, 2 at a time. And also at some of my HOAs, we adopted these emergency house rules, to get people to social distance and also adhere to the protocols. Because we had issues with people having gatherings and stuff, and also for each violation of the house rules would be $1,000 fine. Yeah, so it's real serious, and yeah, that's what we've been doing.
What kind of documentation are you using?
Documentation.
Do you have any kind of documentation in place to kind of let your residents know what's going on?
Yeah. So whenever a vendor has to go to a building, we would notify the homeowners and residents, to take caution, and so that's when we're telling everybody, and also just we have these house rules that we've been set, we mail out to everybody. Asking that everyone follow protocols, social distance, make sure you wear face coverings in the common areas, and no gatherings at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's from the property management side. Now on the vendor side, Daniel, how are you approaching these things?
Well, it's definitely been a change in all we do, and how the time that takes before we can actually get to the actual production of our job. It's like a ritual, right? And so first of all, we before, kind of just to give you a background, before, when our guys get there, we have our foreman or supervisor. He's kind of ready there with the temperature meter, and we at first we began with this with sheets of paper that they had to sign up. We're starting to get a little bit more techie. So we started this new thing where now it's on their phones, and they basically have a questionnaire on their phones that we send them daily in the morning, and they click yes, no. Do you have symptoms, or are you coughing, or and so they respond to that, and we automatically get all that information here in our office. So if it was to show up and ask us, hey, I want a report from last week, we can give them a full report of all the employees that sign up on that specific job, and their temperature, what their temperature was. So all that information we're getting, and that's just once they arrive, they have to fill out that questionnaire. We got to take their temperature, and then we do a checkpoint of do they have their masks? Do they have their, they before they go into the actual job site, they have to wash their hands, and we have a big container of like hand sanitizer, hand washing stations, and so yeah, that's pretty much basically practicing good hygiene, our hands, using hand sanitizer, keeping safe distance, 6 feet apart. Cleaning frequently any areas that we touch. We're also, at the end of the day, we spray the areas like door handles, or wherever we touched, we try to spray it with that disinfecting chemical that we use. And so basically that's the whole ritual that we take from morning to the end of the day.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think the rest of us as vendors are following pretty close to the same kind of ideas. Daisy, what's your take?
So I'm doing basically almost the same thing Daniel is doing. We are doing a daily debriefing. They go on their phones on the online website, and they just click in if they are feeling sick, if they had a temperature, if they came in contact with someone that has corona. And then right now we also implemented another one. When they clock in, it gives you an option to check in to see if you have a fever and stuff like that. So we have like 2 different stations or platforms where we're getting the information, so we can just pull in whenever so if someone does want to report, to see if any of our guys had like a fever or something, or if they didn't feel good, we can pull it up. We're also providing all of our guys with hand sanitizers, face masks, basically everything that they need to just keep the job disinfected, and making sure that they're doing it as well. I think they're already annoyed of me always calling them, hey, do you guys have enough hand sanitizer? Do you have enough soap? Anything, just to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. And just putting up the signs, making sure there's a sign, like COVID signs saying how to wash your hands, how to sneeze, how to all that good stuff. One in like any entrance of the job site. So like if they're going into like driving into the job site, they have to have one there, one next to where they're working at, stuff like that. But yeah, just trying to keep prepared in every single way possible, just to make sure our guys are staying safe, wearing their masks, safety glasses, all that good stuff. But yeah.
Mark, what about you?
Well, with my staff, I mean, it's similar to, we're in a unique position. So with our office ourselves, we're, our staff that's coming in, we're checking temperatures when they come in, making sure that they check in to see what their condition is, if have been sick, feeling sick, what have you. People, they've been exposed to it. But, with us, we're actually overseeing, other vendors doing, the work. And so we're out in the field, and I know especially the larger projects, but even the smaller projects, even these one-offs, like when you go in to do a water loss, we're overseeing those quickly, making sure that they're remediated and then eventually reconstructed, or the larger projects. We check in and make sure, just like what Daniel and Daisy were saying, that they have all the proper postings up there, that they're checking people in. There's all the general conditions are being met for the COVID requirements, so that they're following standard. So that way they can move forward, they can do the job, so they won't get shut down, they won't inadvertently contaminate somebody or themselves or somebody else. So we're really kind of checking in on that. We met with everybody beforehand, and then to make sure that it was implemented, and then we're checking in regularly, and then we just keep doing this, like lather, rinse, repeat. But we really rely solely on, though, because we can't really police folks, but it's a lot of self, sort of policing for them, but we do check in. And we're making sure, as we're moving forward, that everybody's following what they need to do. And then, and of course, documenting anything. One of my projects recently, they sent 2 staff home because they were not feeling well. And one ended up testing positive. The other one just didn't. So there's I think everybody's really stepping up because everybody's really concerned is what I'm seeing. Right. But we have to definitely, all of us in the entire Reliant team have become way more vigilant with, some aspects of our projects that we're seeing that we weren't necessarily had to before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to say something that I came across a job site, I think it was yesterday, and people are getting, a lot better at different things, So I saw this this little sticker, it was like probably about 4x4 with the company name, and then there was a barcode at the bottom. And so I used my camera and I put it, and then it, the whole COVID-19, all the information, all the stuff was right there. So they didn't have to use any bunch of laminated sheets.
Right.
That's what I was
great.
Oh, that is new to me. I have not seen that yet. So that's a good one.
I was using the laminated sheets, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool, because it's a small little thing, but it has all the information. So anyone can just scan it and then be able to see it.
Well, that's awesome, because also the other thing is who wants to stand there and look at everything? You know what I mean? I mean, you have the time to do it. This way, if you have it on your phone, I mean, you still look at it, but it's way more convenient.
Yeah.
That's awesome, actually.
And it's good valid documentation. I like that.
Yeah.
I have another question. This was a question that was asked to me. As vendors, before you go onto a job site where there are occupants or have been occupants recently inside there, are you asking any pre-entry questions? Are you asking them any kind of COVID-19 validation questions before you enter as a vendor into a property?
So we are the same questions that we ask our guys, we are asking our the homeowners or like the property managers whenever we're going to go visit, and we also have them sign like the sheet saying like they don't have any fever, anything like that.
Right.
And so we do, and then we take temperatures and stuff like that as well, just to keep ourselves safe too.
Well, that's why I think that's a good question. What about the rest of you?
I have a question, actually. This is more for maybe someone knows this. But I heard from another vendor that's doing a major reconstruction project that they have to have the homeowners sign up too when they arrive to their property, because they're in major construction. Basically, not just the employees have to sign up, but the homeowners. Is that true? Is that?
I'm not aware of that. Yeah.
I don't think it's so much true, but what we have, just to kind of be safe, and like how you mentioned earlier, offline, it was like in the city of Los Gatos, they gave us like a sheet that we need to have. Whoever comes to visit the job site needs to sign in that they've been there, just to be like, let's say if they end up getting COVID, we can check and see if their name is on our list, and then we can be see how long ago they were at their job site, and see if we quarantine ourselves or get tested as well, because that person tested positive.
Right.
And that's a good thing. If you don't have that in place, you can start doing it, so that way you kind of have all your bases covered.
Yeah, and I think that's the question, because visitors can be, if we're doing you're replacing siding, for instance, or painting for us, right? The job site becomes the whole property, really, and so. The visitors on the job site, is that everyone that just basically is walking in that property, and do they have to sign up? That's something that's kind of gray area. Those things that it's like you make everyone sign, or.
What I have our guys doing is just whoever is going like inside our job site, like right where we're working at, or if they're going to be in close contact with them, that's when we have them sign.
Yeah. I think for us, where we're doing some stuff with unit specific work that we need to do, or we're able to do. I've worked with our general counsel, but also the HOAs that we're working with their general counsels and their boards as well, to come up with language and sort of like a disclosure doc. So, and not only are we checking to make sure, like what Daisy said and Daniel said, to make sure they're healthy and they take the temperatures and all that stuff, but they agree ahead of time that this is what's going to do, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're implementing when they're in their unit, and the length of time we plan on being there, and what we're going to do going in and going out. And if they sign off on that and they're agree with it, then we move forward. But if there's any hesitation, we're not doing it. So that's kind of contained it once we're there. I mean, it's slightly different, but it's on the same vein that you were talking about, Daniel. That for us is probably the most vulnerable or things that are more liable. But also what Daisy said, folks coming in and out of the job site, whether it's you're meeting with an architect that week or engineer or a subcontractor, it's really important to track that.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
So before we move on to the next question, I do want to remind everybody that if you look at the bottom of the screen there, you will see a scrolling message. If you would like to, and we would love you to, please send us a text message letting us know that you're online here, and there is an opportunity for some raffle prizes down the road here. So please, again, if you're joining in with us, feel free to send a text. Also, if you have any questions that you would like us to answer, also please either send us a text or you can add comments to the live comments moving forward. So let's move on to the next question, though. So as the shelter in place was put into place, some of the jobs that were being requested had started to be prioritized as to what was absolutely necessary to have happen right now and what things could be put off until a future date. And everything's been kind of prioritized. So moving forward, now things are starting to open up a little bit. And Ed, I'd like you to actually start off with this. How do you see the demand for jobs or the types of jobs moving forward?
For me, it really, it really depends on the HOA. Like some HOAs are allowing all types of work being done, just as long as the vendor is wearing protective gear and maintaining social distance. Whereas some of my other HOAs are like, can it wait a month or two? And also, I guess it also depends on the job, the type of job too. Like if it's anything that's fire, flood, or flood,
Right.
you have to go in the units. That has to get taken care of right away. But if it's something minor, I don't know, paint touch up or something, on the door, that can wait.
Good. And I want to say, for Restoration Management Company, we're obviously a disaster recovery company. So, and we work with a lot of different projects, but definitely our priorities, we've had to reprioritize the types of jobs that we're approaching. Obviously, getting residents back into their homes as quickly as possible is number one for us. But there are other construction things that we've asked to be put off until a later date. Mark, what about you?
Okay, obviously some projects were able to start back up again, especially those that really had very little interaction with residents or minimal. Those were able to kind of launch. Those include exterior painting where you're not accessing units, clubhouses and things like that where you're doing various renovations. But in a couple of projects that and some of my long-term clients and some of our short-term clients that myself and also members of my team are working on, you're working with the boards to kind of piecemeal, if possible, some of these, or maybe even possibly postpone, because depending upon the level of intrusion into people's daily lives, including in their units, is really affecting us and our ability to handle it well, not only for access concerns and safety, but also just for the cost, because as you really get into, the need to get into certain things, and you have to, temp off and the level that you would almost as asbestos, abatement, it gets cost prohibitive, as well as quality of life for these individuals go out the window. And then additionally, what we're finding is, and we had I've been evaluating this, me and two other members of my team, because of our large, so as we're dealing with larger projects, is the supply chain issues have been disruptive. And so some of the things one of my projects, we do a large amount of windows. It's an ongoing project on these building rehab project. And we postponed the entire project for the year because now we couldn't order windows until everything started opening up, and they're ordering from a company that's back east, and they're looking at 12-week turnaround now. And now we're looking at windows not coming in until August, and so it was already listed, anyway, long story short, we postponed that. So it's not a huge issue, but it's, it's one that we really had to evaluate. And so it's also affecting our production, level and our abilities as well, and our workloads.
Daisy?
So for us, I asked 2 of our owners to see what they thought would be the demand of the project change type, demand of project types change. So one of them said that there might not be that much of a change just because after the shelter in place, he doesn't feel like a lot of people would want us to be working like interior or like they can just put off a lot of things. And the other owner said that there is going to be probably a little bit more just trying to rearrange like the pool area, the gyms, leasing office, stuff like that, just to make it more social distancing or just something so it doesn't spread the virus just in case it's still around and stuff like that. But yeah, just in that terms, that's the way that they feel it's going to change. Same thing, like I feel the same way. It is going to change more in like the gyms because I've noticed, I forgot what country, I think it was Paris. I can't remember, but they opened up their gyms and they had like plywood, like the plexiglass in between the treadmills and stuff like that. We might be seeing that kind of stuff in like the gym areas or like the leasing office and stuff like that.
Daniel?
Well, I saw a big difference in just even like the estimating calls that we used to get, you know, because I mean, we were, before this hit, we knew that the summer was coming and we were going to start like, you know, just getting busy with exterior projects. And then all of a sudden, even projects that we had already in queue or that we were bidding on for this year, we got calls or emails and they told us, you know, we're going to postpone them. And there were, you know, exterior painting jobs that they're just because of all the commotion of COVID-19, the riots, they just say, you know what, too much. We don't want to worry for one more thing, you know, have one more thing to worry about. And so they just say, you know, we'll postpone it to 2021. And so we definitely saw that in that change. I think the project type change will be there. It's basically just going to be on what priorities, what things are priority, what things could really, you know, if there's a property that it's pretty damaged and it needs to be sealed up and protected, they'll probably still do it just because they're, you know, they need that. But if it's just cosmetic and they want it to look nice or just part of their, if they can wait, they'll wait. So that's one thing that I definitely saw a change, and hopefully, you know, people start feeling better about it and moving projects in for us all.
Yeah, right. Good. So obviously, you know, we try to keep these seminars down to a half hour, and we have a million questions that we can go on with, which is why we're continuing these seminars. You know, we're coming to the end of this half hour right now. So what I would like to do is just for some food for thought and for questions for our next time around. You know, some of the things we still need to talk about are, how are the pricing structures going to change for the vendors doing our bidding? Because there's obviously going to be a much higher workload and more things involved to follow the CDC protocol. So how are those going to change? You know, how is the communication between property management and vendors going to change? Is it going to be, are we going to be able to move back into face-to-face meetings, or is it going to be Zoom for the rest of the time? You know, what about, you know, how are we keeping continuing on with how are we keeping our customers and staff informed? Expectations, you know, there's a million questions that we can go on with. And so I want you all to think about those for our next time we get together. And please, for anybody who's watching, if you have any questions or anything that you want to hear about from us, please send us messages, and we're happy to talk about these things. I do want to send out a thank you to Gina from Shoreline, for Nicholas Mounts, and for Deanna Liu for all joining us and saying hello back. Thank you so much for joining us today. If there's any questions right now, we only have a couple minutes left for this, but please, What about you guys? Any food for thought moving forward? Just general.
I think those were good.
We covered it.
Yeah.
You know?
Stay safe. Goodies.
Wash your hands. Always good. Always good. If you weren't washing your hands before, please wash.
Wash your hands.
Absolutely.
Carry hand sanitizer with you at all times.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm digging the Zoom. I'm digging the Zoom stuff. I really am. These meetings. I feel more connected in some ways, personally. I know it sounds weird, but I do.
It's nice. It's convenient. It's good to be able to do it from wherever you are. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your computer. You can do it from your iPad. And it is convenient. So we will definitely have to talk more about that next time. But again, thank you, everybody. Thank all of you, of course. Thank our normal speakers here. Hopefully, we will have some guest speakers moving forward from different areas of expertise. And again, if you have any questions for us moving forward, please send us questions at any time, and we can discuss those the next time. But for now, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate everybody's time, and we will see you again next time. Please don't forget to send a text if you would like to win a prize.
Yes.
Thanks again.